You're watching FJTN, the Federal Judicial Television Network. Coming up on Court to Court.
It keeps us more proactive rather than reactive, which I think makes everybody feel better about the job they do.
People have been self-chroniclers for centuries, but the internet revolution means that anyone can publish a blog.
I usually start off each training session by telling the trainees a little bit something about the benefits of using CMECF to get them interested and to get them wanting to learn more.
This is Court to Court, your connection to what's happening in the federal courts around the country, providing information and ideas that will enhance your job and how the courts function. Now with today's program, Michael Burney.
Welcome to Court, the Federal Judicial Center's educational magazine program for all court employees. Today we'll learn that paying attention to individual employees' skills can lead to beneficial results for many others. We'll hear about networking and blogs, and we'll see how one court provides CMECF training for attorneys and their staffs. Recognizing talent and finding ways to make use of it are useful management tools. They not only can help the court unit, but the individual involved often gains too. We found such a story at the District Court for the Southern District of Indiana, where one employee's skill beyond what she was hired to do helped the court get better use from its switch to an automated case management system.
Tracking case information has always been a big part of any courtroom deputy's responsibilities. When Barbara Williamson first became a CRD, case information wasn't available at the end of a computer terminal.
That was in the days when we had paper dockets, and those dockets weren't always in the bins where they were supposed to be. So really, my case list was my lifeline.
That case list was essentially a printout of her judge's cases, but information such as trial dates she wrote on the list. It was those additional notes that made the case list so valuable, because she could always carry it with her, and courtroom deputies work in several different locations.
But I still had to transfer the information from one printing to the next, and I needed to set aside an afternoon in order to update the information. First I'd print out the list, and then I'd do my copy work, and my arm would be tired at the end of the day.
Mary Helen Kramer used to track cases in the court's pro se office using the DOS program called DBase. When she became a courtroom deputy, in order to track civil cases, she used a variation of that program despite its limitations.
The database program, you had to manually add everything into it. And every time you updated it, you would have to manually add the new information into it. I could not even type on the database program information that I got from attorneys or from other court personnel.
When the court began using a locally developed automated case management program, Kramer still wanted the kinds of reports that DBase could deliver. So she was sent to Juan Miko, at the time a database systems administrator.
The Judicial program started by Mary Helen's when she asked me to automate the information. She was copying from the main system to her own table of cases.
The Zorro program, as it's now called, extracts data from any field in the court's DOS-based case management system and creates customized reports for judges and staff.
It will update me on what's happened to the cases, such as trial settings and pretrial settings. And then I can go in and physically type in the memo section information that's pertinent to that case. It cut my time in half. I'm not really good about change, and this program just blew me away.
One day she knocked on my door and said, "You gotta see this. This is wonderful." And she showed me, and I was a little skeptical at first, but then I started thinking about how maybe I could use it.
When I look at the program, I thought it might be useful to other chambers. So I introduced to other CRDs in chambers.
It was an educational process for both of us, really. But we've learned a lot by talking to each other about what it is that we need. So I was wondering about highlighting, underlining,
Or something star in the...
Or maybe star. I thought about star. The problem with star, I
The
think...
order reference case.
Right.
How about 2 stars?
2 stars might work, 3 stars, something like that.
Or something other than star, some sharp or
Yes.
pound sign or
Yes, that would be good.
Coe, a mathematician hired by a previous clerk of court to learn about computer programming, had taught herself to write programs using FoxPro programming language. She used it to design this new case management software. Because the court had several programs created with FoxPro, someone in systems suggested they call this one Zorro, the Spanish word for fox, and it caught on.
When CMECF was implemented, I encouraged her to try to retool Zorro to make it work with both programs.
Only civil cases are managed in CMECF at the court. The court's previous DOS-based system is used for criminal cases and a few older civil ones.
I knew that WANME was capable of doing it, and I wanted the court to have one tool to extract data from both case management programs and bring it into a unified report system.
Well, if I had to go physically pick up a file, or if I had to go to CMECF and scroll through the docket and pull up documents electronic to get background information from him, it would be very time-consuming.
Jennifer Ong, courtroom deputy for a magistrate judge, likes the Zorro program's time savings. The judge often has up to 8 conferences each day, and Ong annotates background information for each case.
The court has to spend a lot of time studying these motions, and if we can get things resolved sooner rather than later, it's to everyone's benefit. I really think it helps us from having cases fall through the cracks. It keeps us more proactive rather than reactive, which I think makes everybody feel better about the job they do.
It may sound cliche, but everyone in our office sees the big picture, which is the courts exist to serve the public. And as members of the clerk's office staff, we think we need to do everything possible to serve the judges so they can administer justice fairly and efficiently.
We didn't know where we were going with this when we started out. So it's been fun to develop it.
What do you want to call it?
It needs to have a short title, right?
Yeah, that might be better for you to less space.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that one, me. We could do WOW.
Wow. Okay, good. I think Zorro is a very useful case management tool for each chamber, but at the beginning, from their experience, they may not be familiar how to use it because they might think that is extra, but it's not extra. It's not extra work. So promoting was difficult, but once they start to use, they love it.
I only heard about it indirectly through the courtroom deputies, and I realized they were using it, and I saw that it had some direct usage or capability for my needs. I'm not interested in most cases as to whether a motion for continuance has been ruled on or something of that nature, but there are very critical dates like the pretrial dates, the dispositive motion dates, trial dates that I do need, and I need it quickly, so that's very helpful to have it streamlined in that way. That it puts the most important information in a single place for me.
Plus, Judge Tinder finds limitations in some aspects of CMECF.
And it can't collect the sort of the individual comments that we make about cases. These are internal to us, they're not for the public, and they're very helpful to keep that sort of running log of what happens at pretrial conferences and things of that nature.
Other judges or their courtroom deputies might want different data fields highlighted.
Each chamber has their own code, so I separate each code for each chamber. And whenever they have a request, I modify for only that chamber.
She's an exceptional person and very creative and was able to make a very useful program for us.
She wants to make your job easier and more efficient.
And she always accommodated the requests that I had, and oftentimes could predict what other kinds of things would be helpful. After she understood how I was using it, she was able to even make suggestions. I have to print all those pages, and I wondered if there's a way that I can choose.
Skip that.
Right.
So when you choose that order by trial, you want the list which has set up the trial date, not empty trial dates.
Exactly.
Okay.
We moved her from the systems department actually into the clerk's office, so she has daily contact with the users, and and knows exactly what the docketers are experiencing every day and the courtroom deputies.
And if the event calendars don't pop up, then you have to go back in after you've already docketed your case management plan and re-docket a scheduling order without a number attached to it, just to be able to put that dispositive motion in.
So it's communication and understanding. I send out the emails to everybody and try to kind of advertise the programs, what it can be. It is kind of program tool that it help your work. So when they get interested in, they came to my office.
While staff are free to contact Co directly, if she's involved in a large project or one with a deadline, the clerk's office shields her from requests.
So then we might send out an email to people to ask them, please don't contact WANME directly, come to the operations manager or to me, and then we will get with WANME when she has the time.
Co has gone from database administration to being, in the words of Clerk of Court Laura Briggs, the linchpin for managing case flow.
So we've had really good luck throughout the court, I'd say, of finding people who specialize in one thing and then seeing some bit of talent in another area and moving them into that area.
And what does Briggs call this management technique?
I call it trying to be very observant and very sensitive to people's innate skills that may not be necessarily required in their job, and then trying to tailor a position, obviously to meet the court's needs, but tailor a position to draw on their strengths and encourage them.
If the court's Zorro program is any indication, finding new skills yields ongoing payoffs.
Still, many users, whenever they use, they have some question and ideas and some requests. So it's still growing, it's still changing, yes.
And then we could do the dispositive motions at that time, and it would be part of the CMP approval docketing process. Is that something that we could do? That would help.
Clerk of Court Laura Briggs says the court would be happy to share the Zorro program with any others who might like it. She can be reached at 317-229-3705. All around us are different types of networks, affiliations of television stations called networks, telephone systems, computer networks. The World Wide Web is the most extensive computer network. The work of networks is to connect things or people, and the point of that connectivity is communication. My colleague Bob Fagan talks about communication called networking.
In one context, networking means building professional relationships with others in your field. The point is to look for and create opportunities to grow in your career. The key word here is relationships. We're not talking about using people, nor is networking simply getting to know the influential. Networking means developing lines of communication and building goodwill and trust with colleagues and professional friends. But don't limit yourself to your own office. Connect with counterparts in other federal court units and other federal agencies in your city. Get to know colleagues in state courts and those in federal courts in neighboring districts. Professional organizations can provide opportunities for networking. Some guidelines to help make networking successful include knowing your own interests and having career goals in mind. That way, you can identify people who have similar interests and career goals and who can help you reach yours. Make an effort to meet each person face-to-face and build rapport with that person. Write individually to people in your network. Write about something relevant to their career and help them understand your interests and how each interrelates. But make it low-key. Don't pressure them or even expect a reply. Exchange information, but be sure it's a win-win relationship. And try to help those in your network. Finally, follow up and stay in contact. In contact might be one way to describe our next word, blog, which is internet speak for weblog. A more common word that describes a blog is diary, but rather than something private that only the writer and possibly a curious parent sees, weblogs are online for anyone and everyone to read. The content of blogs varies as greatly as traditional journals. personal experience, life observations, commentary, and satire. People have been self-chroniclers for centuries, but the internet revolution means that anyone can publish a blog, and within minutes, it's accessible to millions of people. Anyone who wishes can be a publisher. Many bloggers spend hours documenting everything in their lives, no matter how minute or trivial. They update their blogs, read and comment on other blogs, check their email, chat online, and then blog some more. But lest you think these sites are written mostly by nerds who need to get a life, blogs have become one of the hottest new media that invite truly public debate and commentary, not unlike the coffee houses and pamphleteering did in 18th century England. One of those pamphleteers, Joseph Addison, possibly had an insight into blogging 3 centuries before it existed when he wrote, "An ostentatious man will rather relate a blunder or an absurdity he has committed than be debarred from talking of his own dear person." Opinions expressed on some blogs do not go without wide notice. They can be politically informative, even influential. There are blogs both on the left and right of the political spectrum, and the recent Blakely decision by the Supreme Court spawned several blogs. You can read almost anything on any topic today. There's even a blog that deals with appellate court business. It's called How Appealing. Much of it is a compilation of news reports from other sources, but there's also commentary by the site's author. There's another type of blog gaining in popularity that allows one to edit other people's comments in a blog. It's called a wiki and is used mostly by businesses to create organizational models. It's possible to become so fascinated with blogs that they become a waste of time. But a little judicious blogging in your free time may help you keep up with contacts and information that can be helpful to you. That's Words to Know for this time. I'll be back with more in a future Court to Court.
On a previous program, we saw how a bankruptcy court clerk's office handles CMECF training for attorneys and finds ways to reduce the stress of learning something new. Today, we follow that up with a visit to the district court for the Southern District of Indiana, which emphasizes customer service and the benefits of CMECF.
The court has been live with CMECF for civil cases for more than 2 years and has used a variety of strategies to encourage attorneys to file electronically.
The support from our judges has helped attorneys see that this is a lasting program and that they are expected to participate from here on out.
If we issue our orders electronically and we show that we're ready to accept electronic filings and willing and encouraging to do that, lawyers follow real quickly. They like to do things the way they think judges like to have them done.
And the best thing we ever did was start attending paralegal meetings and paralegal luncheons and pitching it to the paralegals. We pitched to the legal assistants and the paralegals because we knew with them we would turn the tide.
At the divisional office in Evansville, CMECF training is among the several responsibilities of Deputy Clerk Tina Doyle.
A lot of people want to put it off for as long as they can before they learn about the system because they don't accept change very well. The best way I've overcome that is to just show them how positive I am about the system. It's up to those of us who train to introduce CMECF in such a way that the attorneys will wonder how they ever practiced without it before.
Carpentier says that trainees' attitude is also important. She wants them to be interested in learning.
And in order to do that, I usually start off each training session by telling the trainees a little bit something about the benefits of using CMECF to get them interested and to get them wanting to learn more. And it's really convenient because when they receive that email from the court, service has been achieved. That replaces conventional paper service. So you no longer have to provide a paper copy to opposing counsel. Saves you a little bit of time and money on copying and putting postage, addressing envelopes, that kind of thing.
But there are more benefits for attorneys.
It allows them to get instantaneous access to court rulings, sometimes even before the other guy. And reminding attorneys of that has been an enormously powerful tool to get them to sign up.
And even more.
Everyone in the court system can have access to that file at the same time. The lawyers can look at every pleading. They don't tie that file up by coming into the clerk's office saying, I want to see the thus-and-so file, and then the judge can't see it at the same time. We save a great deal of time by having full access to the file itself at all times.
Of course, no matter how successful the pitch, there's still the training.
It's a hands-on training session that we offer here at the courthouse. In our training room, each attendee gets their own computer, or I can use this text window to add additional text about my filing. So I'm going to say, not only is this a motion to dismiss that I'm filing, but within my motion, I've asked the judge to set this for a hearing. After a period of instruction, they can actually do some test filings of their own and get the feel for how electronic filing works.
The most helpful part of the training today was the hands-on, using actually the computers and walking us through the process. So it's not just reading a book and trying to figure it out.
After you've closed out of the document, you can attach it by clicking open. Then step number 2 is to describe it. So enter a description. You can make something up if you want to.
The most helpful in the training today was learning about the attachments and how the exhibits are done and how they're to be presented to the court.
At the Evansville Division, the Law Library doubles as a training room with 2 stations.
The secret to successful CMECF training for the attorneys is keeping it simple and making it as fun as possible.
Even though the training takes only about an hour, Doyle says that with smaller firms and sole practitioners, it can be difficult to convince them to spend the time to train.
To help them get over that obstacle of finding time with me, I keep my schedule as flexible as possible. If I get a call from an attorney that happens to have a spare hour the afternoon of the phone call, I try to be as flexible as I possibly can. I figure that it's our product. We want them to use it, so I need to sell it in any way I can by making that training time available to them. It would take much more time to correct the mistake if they were to file it improperly, and I can even go to their offices for some training. I have a laptop, a projector, and even a portable screen that I can take with me if I need to do training in their offices.
Carpentier also provides training at law firms' offices, and
our smaller offices, the Terre Haute and New Albany divisions, do not have a training coordinator, and I periodically make visits to those offices to handle training for attorneys that practice in that area.
As of September 1st, will the requirement of serving paper documents be gone completely?
The clerk's office offers multiple means of training.
We do have the online tutorials posted on our website, and attorneys are encouraged to use them to practice using CMECF and to get the feel for how it works.
For attorneys not near any court, there's telephone training.
Actually, it sounds a little bit awkward, but it works very well. Usually the trainer is in front of his or her computer and logged into CMECF, and so is the trainee. And they can kind of talk through the screens together and see how the filing works.
There's even unscheduled telephone training.
Attorneys will call our office even moments before our office closes and want to obtain some kind of training. And in that instance, I usually initiate a phone training session right there on the spot, and we'll talk them through the training or the filing process.
That's been one of our more successful training tools, the live and on the phone right now by 5 p.m. filing.
Briggs says that when they first went live with CMECF, a chronic problem was late-in-the-day calls from attorneys who were not registered, not trained, and who didn't have PDF conversion software. The clerk's office decided to take a labor-intensive approach for the short run to achieve less work in the long run.
If someone calls at 4, we often let them fax their attorney registration, and then we will often let them email. This is a one-time deal only. Email a document to us in WordPerfect or whatever. We'll convert it to PDF. We email it back, and then we get with them on the phone and we walk them step by step by step through the filing process.
That usually works pretty well, and they're very happy with the result because they get their document filed and they don't miss their deadline.
And our theory was if we really bent over backwards for those first-time filers, even the non-compliant, that we'd kind of get happy attorneys who saw how easy it was to use the system, and then the next time they could file on their own, probably even without a phone call to us.
Carpentier says that CMECF training doesn't end when attorneys or their staff leave the training room. It's a constant activity for the clerk's office.
Our clerk, Laura Briggs, answers phone calls from attorneys who have questions. I answer phone calls. You're responding to a summary judgment motion, is that right? Okay, so you're going to select that option, and you'll see that then it pops up in that field right there on the screen. And once you've done that, you can go ahead and click Next. Everyone in the office is dedicated to educating attorneys, and I think that's what really helps out.
For example, staff at the intake counter answer calls from attorneys asking about CMECF, and case administrators check attorney filings.
If they find an error, they not only have to correct the error, but they contact the attorney to let the attorney know about the error and help educate them about avoiding that error in the future.
There's a world of benefits to CMECF, and I think the work we do at the front end in accommodating attorneys really pays off.
I think what helped me the most was seeing how you can navigate through the system and how the information is so readily available.
The most rewarding part of training attorneys in CMECF is the ultimate satisfaction I get when I get that first filing from an attorney that's just been trained and it's correct. It's also a great feeling to have a user call me and tell me how simple it is or share with me how beneficial the system has been for their firm.
At first it was far more complicated and I was a little intimidated about doing it, but feel far more comfortable now.
When I start to see more attorneys filing electronically and I see our docket filled with attorney filings, I think that's the payoff in the end for the training sessions that we do. They are registered and they will receive electronic notice of anything that you file electronically in this case.
The FJC makes available several educational tools to help courts train attorneys for CMECF. There are electronic case filing tutorials for the bar, featuring online templates for bankruptcy, civil, and criminal cases. These tutorials are designed to reside on a court's public server and include instructions on how to customize them for the district. Information is available at the web address on the screen or by contacting Jim Buchanan. There also are 2 curriculum packages. Developing a CMECF training plan is a 1.5-day facilitated planning session that helps courts customize training. Customer service in a CMECF environment gives insights into different customer communication styles and competency levels and can be taught by any experienced court trainer. Contact Phyllis Drum for information about either package. That's our program for today. We want your comments about this program and your ideas for topics you'd like us to cover. Please email your thoughts, comments, and suggestions to me at the address on the screen. Our next Court to Court will highlight a public outreach program aimed at keeping young people out of bankruptcy court. And we'll learn about the trial that sent the notorious gangster Al Capone to prison. We hope you'll join us. I'm Michael Burney. On behalf of everyone at the Federal Judicial Center, thank you for watching today.